song by Michael Stillwater. The words are going to be right up here. There's 3 different phrases. We'll go through all of them, and you can just sing it anytime you want. But please join in on it with us.
We rise, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. It's raining with mercy. It's raining with love. 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 I am that I am. That I am. I am that I am. That I am. I am 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 that I am. We rise, we fall, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. We rise, we fall, we fall. In the end, we are the all and all. Raining with mercy, it's raining with love. I am that I am. With mercy, I am that I am. With love, I am that I
I love the first line. Oops, it disappeared. The first line, we rise, we fall, and in the end, we're the all and all, and it should be all in all and all and all and all. You know, I want you to draw your attention to that, because it's easy to know that we're one with the one, that God is good and life is good when we're on the rise. The test of a spiritual being, somebody who is maturing and growing into who they really are, is to know it in the fall. That is the all in all, that Spirit hasn't left us. We haven't somehow left it. We can't, because it is the all in all and we're the all in all. I think that's important, because part of consciousness is to evaluate right and wrong, good and bad, like this, don't like that. When it's a continuum. I had a big, huge learning recently when one of my horses that I had raised right out of the chute, you might say, I took him as far as I could go as a rider and as a trainer, and then I let him go. He's gone. He's gone. He's not dead. I had to say that. Gone does not mean dead. I don't need sympathy cards. I'm sorry about your loss. I sold him, and boy, it really brought up this huge feeling of loss. And yet at the other end is gain for him, and gain for me with more time with the other horses, and gain with more time with my husband, and gain. Spring, the earth, this gorgeous place that we live, teaches us all the time to not judge. You all have seeds. You got seeds when you came in. Those seeds must die to bring forth the beautiful flowers that will feed the bees and the other insects that need to be fed. What can sometimes seem like loss is a gain. What can seem like an end is a beginning. What can seem like a tragedy is an opening for an awakening. That's the story of spring. That's the story of our Mother Earth and all the legends that are taught about her. So let's sing this again. We rise, we fall, we are the all in all. And always rain is bringing us mercy. I invite you to stand up.
We rise, we fall, in the end we are the all in all. We rise, we fall, in the end we are the all in all. We rise, we fall, in the end we are the all in all. We rise, we fall. It's raining,
Thank you for singing that again, and I just want to thank Rebecca. Rebecca chose to watch us in her jammies. Love you still, Rebecca. See you on Tuesday. And Anna Arthur and Byron Putnam are watching. Those are just some of the people who signed in to let us know that they're on live streaming with us. Yay, we love you. And did we get the dog thing taken care of? No. Well, let's just say this. It's starting to warm up, and someone noticed when they were coming in that someone left their dog in the car, and there's only this much of a crack, and that's not enough for the heated up car. So if you have an animal in your car, we love you, we bless you, and this window's been raised up, and we need it to fall. So it's okay to go out and take care of your dog now. We'd love that. What I would do, and please, let's go out and have somebody check. Yeah, great. That's good. See, everyone with their dogs are like, I'll check on my dog. Thank you very much for checking on your dog. Now we know we have dog lovers. Yay! Woo! We love that. Cool. April, the theme for April is reflection. It's a time to reflect. I looked at the definition of reflection. It means serious thought and consideration. It doesn't mean leap to a conclusion. To reflect means to take it in, to analyze it. A lot of people leap to conclusions. In our staff meetings one time, I talked about going up the ladder of inference, and I almost was going to talk about that today. And I was going to have a ladder up here, and I was going to go up the stairs. But people are laughing like I couldn't do it. I can still go up a ladder. But think about it. Here's the ladder of inference. It's like we see something happen and we don't know why it happened, so we make up why it happened. And then we believe what we made up. And with everything, with each belief, we just keep going higher and higher up that ladder, and it gets really tippy at the top. That's sort of like making things up. That's not reflection. It's not consideration. It's not deep thought. It's not serious consideration. It's just leap. People that go up the ladder usually go up fairly quickly. And you know if you do that. Serious thought and consideration, to do that is to have reflection, and we're really studying that in self-mastery. So I'm going to go over a little bit of things that we are talking about in self-mastery, but go into them a little deeper, and also what we've been studying in Bible mystery and Bible meaning. In self-mastery, we're being asked to take serious thought about how we show up in the world and consider if the way we're showing up allows us to have deep satisfaction and fulfillment. What I would love for every student to have at the end of self-mastery is deep satisfaction and fulfillment. What I would like you to begin to have today, because we don't have 8 weeks to do it. I'd love for you to be on the path to deep satisfaction and fulfillment. And the reason I'm telling you where we're going is because I always read the book at the end. And if I don't like the end, I don't read the rest of the book. So I'm telling you where we're going. Hopefully you'll stick with me till we get there. That's just the way my brain works. So I would like you to consider, since this is reflection and it's consideration, I'd like you to consider that life can be an adventure. And Ernest Holmes, I was thinking about adventure. We talk about adventure in self-mastery, and Ernest Holmes has a essay in every one of the Science of Mind magazines, and in the May magazine, he says, and I just love him. He was such a sweet man. He always lived on the sunny side of the street. Here he is. We like to try new things and see how they work. There wouldn't be much fun in living unless we did this, for life is a great adventure. As a matter of fact, it is the great adventure. Unless new things are happening for us, life becomes uninteresting and drab. He's assuming that everybody that's reading this loves to try new things. Isn't this fun? He's so sweet. Yes, adventure has its rewards, but adventure can also be risky and dangerous. Adventure can be dangerous to us emotionally, mentally, and physically. That's part of what adventure is. Two definitions that I found about concerning adventure were the unusual and exciting adventure. No, it's unusual and exciting, but it is typically hazardous. And then it's an undertaking that will involve risk. So let me talk about adventure. I'll talk physical adventure. 2 years ago, 2 years from next September, I went down the Colorado River, Grand Canyon, on a raft. I was told to say raft because it's not a boat. A boat's fairly safe. This was a raft. It was 8 days, and once you get in, you don't get out until you're done. You just stay on, and they do not buckle you in. There is no buckle. There's just you hanging on. And you better hang on because these are Class 5 rapids. Over and over. And just about the time you calm down and get dried off, there's another one. And then you get to get off and set up your tent because it will be dark at 6. Right, I love it, right. It's an adventure. Now, the risk was staying alive. The advantage, because there has to be an advantage, why would you do it if there wasn't, is that I saw things I would have never seen. I got to see the earth at its beginnings. I got to see critters I wouldn't have seen. I saw water the color that I've never seen water that color. And I got to hang out with great people. It was worth it, but it was an adventure. Life can be an adventure. But what I've noticed is that, as Ernest Holmes is saying, you're trying new things, and there can be a hesitancy to want to try new things. The more adults mature, another word that we could use is that we get solidified. We get set, no, not you, but you know adults that get set in their ways. Right? And they don't want to try new things necessarily. I mean, people are moving. Oklahoma, New York, very risky. Why? Because you don't know what you'll get when you get there. I mean, you can affirm all you want, but it's still going to be an adventure because you don't know. I was righteous about my ability to avoid cooking for most of my life. Until I went on an adventure called living in this country, where the closest thing, whether it's food or groceries, is 25 minutes away. So if I want to eat anything other than peanut butter and apples, I had to begin to cook. And it was an adventure because the payoff was food. Risk was really blowing it bad, really messing up. I wanted to talk more about that as we go on, not necessarily my food habits or how I cook or don't cook, but to really consider what it is that we are avoiding and why. I think sometimes this whole thing with adventure, which can have a reward to it, but also have this risk to it, that it could actually be hazardous. It could be hazardous to us. See, cooking wasn't hazardous to me physically. I mean, I was smart enough to not do that. But it was hazardous to my self-esteem. It was hazardous mentally and emotionally because I had to fail a lot. to learn. So let's look at this whole thing about adventure as there is an achievement, meaning I succeeded in doing something. I succeeded in seeing the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I'd seen the top. I succeeded in learning to cook. And then with that, there's also the risk that I could fail or lose what I now have. So a lot of people work on that continuum. I achieve, but I have to risk to achieve. And where is the payoff, and is it a big enough payoff? A lot of us go that way, right? To move to another city, there's an achievement, there's a reward, but there's a risk. To start a new job, to quit one job to go to another, there's might be a reward, but there's a risk. And that can start to paralyze us. So I want to look at it a new way. And this is the way that was introduced to me by a man named Viktor Frankl. And that is that when we think about achievement, we say that I succeeded. I succeeded in this. I succeeded in seeing the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I succeeded in learning to cook. I'm not saying well, but I'll tell you, I can do things with 3 ingredients that you just would be amazed at. And then there's the risk. And risk adds up to I failed or I lost even what I had. There's that whole balance. And a lot of people live on this continuum in their life. Success and failure, achievement and risk are not just in the arenas of sports or athletics or the sales floor. I made the sale, I lost that sale. I got a gold, I didn't get a gold. I got 7th in state, yay, but it wasn't first. Do you see how it's all the way you interpret it? And people just stay on that continual line over and over again. It's not just when we're competing, it's not just when we're trying really hard. We play the success and failure game in the areas of making friends. Did I make a friend? Did I lose a friend? Was I unfriended? In the realm of dieting, did I succeed at losing weight? Am I losing at the losing game? In the area of relationships, are we succeeding in getting along with our teens and communicating with them? Are we losing our relationship with our parents because they're not able to cope with aging and we don't know how to help them? Do you see how it's still on that continuum? And so it can be such a pressure, because if we are playing this game of I've got to succeed and I don't want to lose, or I want to succeed and I don't want to fail, then what we're doing is we avoid the rewards of life because we don't want to risk failure or losing. We stop, sometimes as maturing adults, we stop playing altogether. We start to contract. And even those who want to play to win, they make sure they only play to win in an area that they're going to win. If I can win, I'll play. That's why I don't like dominoes. All you domino players, I hate that game. Hate it. Because it's just a bunch of stuff in front of you. No intelligence needed. How can I win? Oh, fighting words. Fighting words. Notice somebody just got upset. Stood up and is ready to take me on. Do you see how we get crazy? Out of stuff. I will just say I don't like playing it because I don't have a way to win. It seems to by chance. And people who do play the game of I must win, it's exhausting. Because you got to win, and it's like a drug. High, I got to win. High, win, high. But the win high gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and you need it faster and faster and faster. I've got to be good again. I've got to do it again. I've got to do this again. We want winners. We want to be around winners. We want to have that exuberance. We love the Seahawks when they're winning. Not winning? Meh. Might even sell your jerseys. But if we're not playing to win, then we play not to lose, which is just as life-deafening. Because to play not to lose means you just try not to play at all, anything. If I was playing not to lose, I wouldn't start to cook. I'm not trying to cook to win, but I do know that when I wasn't cooking, I was playing not to lose because I'd never learned how to do it, and I didn't want to make a fool of myself in front of the person I loved. When we play not to win, we don't risk, and we don't move outside of our comfort zone. And the comfort zone is a cage. Now, it might be really well decorated with great pillows, throw pillows everywhere, chandelier, but it's still a cage because we're not trying anything new, and we're not going outside of what we already know. Luckily, Viktor Frankl gave me another way to look at this whole thing of success and failure, winning and losing, and it was this. He said that people can have success and failure, but what we should really start looking at is fulfillment and depression. To be fulfilled, he said, is to feel whole, complete, and right with yourself. I'm going to say perfect. Not perfect like I'm perfect as the world sees me, but I'm perfectly me. I'm perfectly me. When you see me, I'm perfectly me. I'm as good as I'm going to get. Depression, you know what that is. And all the stages of it, which would be anxiety, lack of self-esteem, being doubtful in ourselves and in the world, no faith, this tendency to not risk. Now, this is the thing that I thought was really interesting. He said that if we are fulfilled, the worst, this is the next slide, if we're fulfilled, the worst thing that can happen to us is contentment. People who fail, but they're fulfilled, they're content. The best thing that can happen to them is abundance. You can be successful and depressed and it just feels like burnout. And I don't know what rust out is, and he's dead, so I can't ask him, so. But I am going to give him credit for what he said. So it seemed to me like the thing to be seeking instead of success or winning is fulfillment. I want to be filled full with the awareness that I'm okay and that there's a good for me and I ought to have it. And that I am loved and appreciated by the love intelligence of the universe, and it desires to bless my life. So how do we do that? Luckily, Viktor Frankl gave us a formula for that. First of all, the first thing to do is to seek meaningful work or contribution. Actually, he said meaningful work, but too many people think about that as your job. But really, from a mystical point of view, work is your contribution to the world. What are you contributing? Meaningful contribution feels good. My husband Tim was one of those 22 people that were at this wonderful elderly woman's home yesterday, demolishing everything so that people could come next Saturday and rebuild it together. But you had to take it out first. And he came home so tired with the biggest smile on his face I've seen in a long time. because it felt so good to know that he was making a significant difference to a woman's life who would otherwise probably lose her home through no fault of her own, but just things had gotten away from her. It would probably have been a condemned house. And he felt good about his part in letting her keep her home. Contribution is important. Are you contributing? And where are you contributing? I honestly, I was been looking at this because I'm thinking about this because I need to make a bigger contribution. I want to make a bigger contribution to my world. And I do it here, but I want to make a bigger contribution. I love you and I want to make a bigger contribution. So I'm so grateful that Shannon Ray, one of our practitioners, has set me up with a Common Ground organization so I can start teaching. I'm going to call it, they're going to know it as mindfulness. I'm teaching mindfulness because that's a nice secular term. I'm going to be teaching mysticism to people in transitional housing. And so everyone in Inward Journey knows how powerful that is, and that's what they're going to be getting. And I won't use any God words. I won't scare anybody. But God will be in the house. Contribution is important. The next thing he said is important for us to have a life that is fulfilled, and that we feel fulfillment is significant relationships. And that does not mean a significant relationship. Because if it only meant that, it meant a significant relationship, every single person is doomed. What it means is a significant relationship in which you can have significant conversations with someone. That you can tell them what's important to you and they will listen. You can tell them when things are going wrong and you can tell them about the miracles. Monica DeCluet was here first service, and I want to tell her about this miracle that happened last week, and she wants to tell me about the miracle that's happening in her life, and so we've got a date tomorrow to have Miracle Monday and talk about demonstrations. And I would share them with you, but honestly, some of it's just not appropriate to share, but you got to have somebody that you can share good stuff with and that you can cry with. I'll tell you this significant thing. I think one of the reasons that it was so hard to let Apache go is that when I was seeing him when he was only like a half an hour old, and his little eyes were open. He's like, "Who's my mama?" And I'm there, and his mother's there, and who's my mama? And we kind of imprinted. And so we've been close. And I remember the words out of my mouth is, "You will be with me for the rest of my life." And I think he got it at some level, which may be the reason why it took 2 hours to get him in the horse trailer yesterday. 2 hours. He reared up. He wasn't going because I told him he was going to go to a new family. I thought I was doing the right thing. I took him around to all the horses. I said, "Now say goodbye to Apache. Apache's going to go to a new home." And they're all going, in their own way. And Starlet, the lead mare's going, "I hate you. I didn't like you anyway." "Get out of here, you take too much time and energy." But Apache would not get in that horse trailer. He didn't have a hard time getting in a horse trailer before. He was acting like a crazy boy. I thought they were going to take their money back. Luckily, I called my trainer, and she used all the tricks that she used to put a wild horse in a horse trailer. And I realized as soon as she pulled out that I remembered that bond, that agreement, that covenant that we'd made. And so I said, "Apache, I take it back. Honey, you're free." That was a good decision at the time, but this is better for you. I made a promise. I'm unbreaking that promise, but I'm committed to you. What's so interesting is that the woman who picked him up texted me when she got home, and she said he was a different horse. He backed out like a pro. Like he'd had no problem. He walked around, made himself at home. I need to tell you that because it's significant. That we're all interconnected. Everything feels our thoughts and knows our intentions. The last thing is the ability to control feelings and attitudes. And I don't know about you, but it's easy to feel bad when we feel like we have failed or are going to lose. It's normal. Don't make yourself wrong for it. But Viktor Frankl, who survived a concentration camp, said that human beings have the ability to control our feelings and attitudes. So I want to suggest a new attitude. That sounds like a song, doesn't it? We should be breaking into song now. New attitude. What if we had the attitude that there was no such thing as failure, only learning and growth? What if there was no such thing as failure, only learning and growth? Just like the seed has to die for something to spring up, what if we sometimes fail so that we can move forward and learn? And just to prove I'm right, I ran into this last night. In Sweden, there's a museum devoted to the celebration of failure. It's called the Museum of Failure, and it recently went on tour to Los Angeles. More than 100 failed products were highlighted in this unique event, which ironically drew huge crowds and was a deep success. From the Sony Betamax to the Ford Edsel to the weight-reducing product called the Hawaiian Hula Chair, which I would have bought. These products represent thousands of products launched by companies every year that never make it. As Samuel West, the curator of the museum, wants everyone to understand that failure is not only okay, it's essential to our growth. He stated, failure starts early when we break something as a kid and someone goes, yay! Well, they should go, yay, good for you, you're learning about your environment. Yet without failure, we wouldn't learn what doesn't work, and we wouldn't move forward to eventual success. There's a saying that failure is a better teacher than success, and I believe that's true. I had that experience, yeah. I was just speaking to some ministerial students last week, and it's like, boy, it didn't turn out the way you thought it would, and you will never do that again. It's such a wonderful learning. But we have to hold it that way, that everything is learning. We as human beings count our failures and lack of wins, and we make up the ladder of inference, climbing up I didn't win, I didn't do well, and we go up the ladder of inference, and we make stuff up about ourselves, and we make up that we aren't worthy. And then we hate failing again, so we play really small and avoid risk, and we avoid the spiritual risks like forgiveness, prayer, reaching out for help. We avoid prayer because we don't know that it'll work. Now, when things get really bad, almost everyone prays. It's said that there are no atheists in a critical care facility. People want God, but for little things, are we going to God? Are we praying about everything? Everything. Big, little, everything. If we knew that it may not turn out exactly like what we outlined, we would still learn something from it, and then we continue to pray. And in prayer, we build a significant relationship with something greater than ourselves. You just can't lose. But this whole thing of worthiness really got me, because I have talked to so many people, and when it gets right down to it, when they really talk to me and they're speaking to me and we're having a significant conversation, the reason they do not accept their greater good is they don't believe they're worthy. I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, are the words out of their mouth. Bottom line of why we are not living the life that we want to live and having it as an adventure is we don't think we're worthy. We don't, in our very heart of hearts. Now, we may make up something, which means we become very false and very fake. We talk about those times 10 years ago when it all went well. Or we don't talk about ourselves at all because we don't think that we have anything significant to say. And all of that is, just think what I might be saying. I'll just think it, you put in the words. Starts 2 words. And sometimes when we don't think we're worthy, we don't allow ourselves to win because we need to prove over and over again that our self-concept is true. I'm unworthy. Here's the ladder. And every time we fail, we get to have more evidence about how we're not worthy. Now, this is what I want to leave you with today, because this is what struck me big time last night. Worthiness isn't earned. You can't earn it. Worthiness is a condition of existence. How many of you just took a breath? Great, you're worthy. Just by the beat of your heart, you are worthy of all the blessings that the universe can pile upon you. So there's no more putting up the umbrella that says I'm unworthy and all of it splashes over everybody else, and then you look at them getting the blessings. Our ability to seek fulfillment is our ability to know our own worthiness. Our ability to know that we, just through our very existence, we deserve all that God wants to give us. And there's another step to this too, and this is I'm getting from Bible Mystery, Bible Meaning. In that, Judge Thomas Troward says that if you look at creation, it starts out with the first kingdom, which is the mineral kingdom. And it has intelligence. Everything has intelligence because everything is God. It's all in all. So it's intelligent. We just don't understand its intelligence. But then from there comes the vegetation and the second kingdom, and that's got intelligence. We now know that the roots of the trees in the forest communicate with the roots of the other trees in the forest. They're talking. We know that if you get really close and up personal with a tree, it's going to speak to you, and it will give you its energy. We know that flowers turn themselves to get as much sunlight as they can, as well as leaves. It's intelligent. Then we go to the animal kingdom, which is not only more intelligent, but it also has more freedom. Freedom to move around. And then we have the human kingdom, which is the ability to move around and have intelligence and more than all the other kingdoms. And yet it is confined by its own belief system, its own cage. Human beings can choose to be caged. Human beings can choose to stay small and not live up to their potential, whereas any animal or vegetable is trying to reach its potential. Human beings can say, no, just play small this life. Then there is the fifth kingdom, and that is when the human being starts to recognize that they are an expression of their originating cause, and they allow themselves to know that they are not only seeking God, God is seeking to know itself through them, and that they are seeking to see God in everything else, and that's the fifth kingdom. And then what he goes on to say is that when people reach that level of consciousness, there's no blaming, there's no shame, and there's no regret. And so what is given to the planet is nothing but love, and the planet responds to it, and we start to bring back Eden on the earth. Because we are the place where harmony is happening, instead of the place where disharmony is happening, division, right and wrong. We bring back Eden, or the New Jerusalem. And I just needed to share that because this is Earth Day. The best thing I can do for the earth, besides planting seeds that will help with the population of bees, is to rid myself of judgments of myself and others, and ask myself not to play small, and to risk it all, and make a fool of myself and get up and dust myself off and try it again. I noticed that when the woman who called me about working with the transitional housing people, I said, well, let's just try it with 12 people. Let's just do a beta test. Let me work out all the bugs. I'm thinking, you've been teaching this all your life, but you need to start small. because I don't want to make a fool of myself. I realized I was saying that on Friday, and then on Saturday I have to do this talk. I don't want to risk doing it bad. I'll call her back. As we grow up and learn, we have the strength to use our spiritual technology that we're learning through all of our classes to not only live fully, but to bless others and to bless the planet, and that's good for everybody. Let's do a prayer. I'm just grateful for this day. I start in gratitude and recognize that there is a love intelligence that lives through myself and everyone in this room. And it's the love intelligence that is the originating cause of all that is. And yet, it is not separate from its creation. It infuses itself in creation. And I am the place where creation shows up. I'm the place where something new shows up. I'm the place that can say, let there be. And as I know that for myself, I know that for every person in this room. And so join me in this prayer, and right now, silently within your heart, declare something new into existence by saying, let there be. Say it now. And whether that let there be is for your body, for your relationships, that let there be might be for your friendships, or it may be for the planet. Whatever it is, the wonderful, intelligent law of creation is now working through it. And so we can just let it be. And with great gratitude, we take our hands off this prayer. And knowing that it is done, we say what the love intelligence probably said on the seventh day. And so it is. I'm so grateful that the Spirit of God works and obviously wants us to be the place of healing for hate in this world. Max brought up his poem for hate. And I'm not sure it's a poem or rap or just who knows what. But I like to see emotions as people, and so hate.
Hate has eye problems and wears thick bug-eyed glasses that make his eyes appear small and beady. And he thinks they make him look smart, which gives his prejudices an air of intelligence. Too bad hate can't see that his eye issue is an inner vision distortion whereby all he hates within himself he sees in the outer world. Unfortunately, no amount of corrective lenses can help with that kind of vision impairment. The inner work to correct the real problem would be awfully costly. It would cost hate his self-image, his position of leadership in the Ain't They Awful gang, and feelings of superiority. Too bad hate swiped left on getting to know love. She would have introduced him to a whole new way of looking at life, and he could have ditched those ugly glasses.